In this problem, we want to find the winner of an election using the pairwise comparison method and this preference table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all the different possible pairings there are. We could look at candidate A versus candidate B. We could look at A versus C, A versus D. That matches up A with all the other possible candidates. We could also look at B versus C, B versus D. I'm just going to run out of room. I just have one more to do. Let me squeeze it in at the bottom. C versus D. Now those are all the possible matchups. It doesn't matter who comes first. So when we have A versus B, then that's the only time we need to match up A and B. It doesn't matter that we listed A first. So let's start with A versus B. How do we determine who should win in a head-to-head matchup? So what we'll do is we're going to look at the first set of ballots. Now there were 12 people who all voted this same way. They liked A the very best, they thought B was the second best, C is the third best, and D is the worst of all of them. So if they were asked, who would you vote for, A or B, then of course they said A. They put him first. So 12 votes go to A. That's pretty easy because we can see that A is the number one choice, so there's not too much controversy there. Now what about the next 10 people? They thought B was the very best, and A was the third best. We don't really care what they think about C or D. We just care that they liked B better than A. They liked B better than anybody, but they definitely liked B better than A. So 10 votes now go to B. Now we look at the next set of ballots. So we have to do this for every set of ballots that we see. So now we have 8 ballots. Who gets those 8 ballots? Well, you might say C. C is not in this race. We're just looking at A versus B. That's why it's called pairwise comparison, because we just take 2 at a time. So we don't care that they like C the best. We don't care that they liked D the second best. We care that out of A and B, who did they like better? A. So those 8 votes go to A. It doesn't mean that A really is getting those 8 votes, but when we're just comparing in a head-to-head A and B, then A gets the 8 votes. All right, now the next 6 votes don't go to D because he's not involved. B gets those votes because B is above A. Let's give 6 to B. And the next 6 go to A because A is above B in the chart. So 6 to A, and then the last 4 to B. So now I count up how many does A have. He's got 26. And B has 20. Well, 26 to 20 makes A the winner out of that head-to-head comparison. Now I'll do the same thing for A versus C, which is why this is, to me, the most tedious method to determine the winner of the election. So you have to go through the whole set of ballots 6 times in this case because we have 4 candidates. All right, so let's see. Who gets the first 12? That would be A. Who gets the next 10? C is above A, so C gets 10. The next 8 goes to C. And the next 6 go to C. And then the next 6 after that go to A, because A is in second, B is in fourth. And the last 4 go to C. So now we have 18 versus 28. C wins over A. Okay, so now let's look at A versus D. A versus D. A gets the first 12. A gets the next 10. The next 8 go to D, because D is in second, A is in third. And then D gets 6, and then another 6, and the last 4. Okay, so this is 22 versus 24. Okay, so that was pretty close. D wins that matchup. So at this point, A has 1 point, C has 1 point, D has 1 point. Let's see what happens next. B versus C. So now A is out of it. We're just looking at B versus C. Who gets these 12 votes? Who's higher up? B. So now those 12 votes that from the beginning all went to A. A's not in it anymore, so those 12 go to B. B also gets the next 10. And let's see, B is at the bottom, so C must be above, and that's 8. B is above C, so that's 6. And another 6. And B is at the top, so that gives 4 to B. Okay. So now we have 38 for B. That's a lot. Versus 8 for C. So B is way ahead. Now everybody has 1 point. If we look at B versus D, let's see. What can I do here? I'm going to take this out. I don't need the work anymore over here. I just need to remember who won. So let's see, what was that last one? That was C versus D. So we'll squeeze that in over here at the end. Okay, so in B versus D, B gets 12, and another 10, and then D gets 8, and 6, and 6, and B gets 4. So this is 22, and 4 make 26. And then we have 14, and 6 makes 20. So B is the winner here, so B gets 1 point. Now, going back to A versus D, this was very close. It was 22 to 24. If they had tied, if it was 23-23 instead, I would have given them each a half of a credit, and that adds in at the end, but that didn't happen in this scenario. All right, so we've got B versus D. B won that. So final one, C versus D. So C gets the 12 because C versus D, C is above D for those 12 voters. Then C gets the next 10. And C gets the next 8. And C versus D, so D gets 6. And then the other 6. And C is over D for the last 4. So let's see, that makes 34 for C and 12 for D. So that makes C the winner of that matchup. All right, so now make a little bit more room. All right, so what's the final tally? A has 1 vote here, and that's it. So not 1 vote, but 1 point. B has how many points? 1, 2. All right. C has 1, 2 votes. And D has 1 vote. Okay. So what this means is that B and C are tied for first place. I'm going to move this over. So in first place, we have B and C. Now, there are 2 people in first place, So that means there's nobody in second place at all. That just stays open. And in third place, we have A and D who tied with each other. So they're together in third place. So the way you want to look at this is, what place does A wind up in? Well, how many people are ahead of him? There's B and there's C. So there's 2 people ahead of A. That puts A in third place. If there's 2 people ahead of you, you must be in third. D is the same reasoning. It doesn't matter what's happening with A. A is on the same level with D. So D just says there's 2 people ahead of me, so I'm in third place. So that's the way that goes. So there's nobody in second, nobody in fourth. So B and C are tied for the first place, and then you would have to do some kind of tiebreaker in order to decide who's the ultimate winner. But for pairwise comparison, this is what we go with, and that's my final answer.